Welcome to the second part of the Mouseless browsing tutorial. Let's start with URL-specific behavior. Mouseless browsing also allows the definition of URL-specific rules for displaying the IDs. To add an URL rule, let's, for example, say we don't want to display IDs for the Google result page. Open the Tools menu, go to Mouseless browsing, add URL rule. There's also a shortcut you can use, and the current URL is set as default, and you can use the star as a wildcard character. And let's say the visibility mode for this URL pattern should be hide all IDs. So press add and say OK. And now for this page with this URL rule, the IDs are hidden. Of course, I can toggle them on by pressing the decimal key on the numpad. You can also do it the other way around. For example, if you have enabled show IDs only on demand, that you can say that on certain pages the IDs should always be shown. Let's flip through the rest of the configuration options and features of Mouseless browsing. For this, let's open the configuration dialog. The first option we haven't talked about is this one here, show IDs before all images are loaded. You can deactivate that, but then you have to wait a little bit longer until the IDs are displayed. The advantage, if you tick off that, is that the initialization process of Mouseless browsing is a little bit faster. The fourth option here, disable automatic updates of IDs on page change, is that some pages like Gmail changes its layout not via an entire load of the entire page, but they request new content via JavaScript. And you can deactivate these page changes with this option, but I would heavily discourage that, because otherwise you have to manually update the IDs, which you can do with a shortcut, update IDs of page, which is by default Alt plus the Add key. In some cases, Mouseless browsing, in some rare cases, Mouseless browsing do not detect page changes, and you have to update the IDs manually. One option which speeds up browsing is to enable execute action instantly when the ID is unique. So let's try this. So the principle is, if I press 5, Mouseless browsing checks if there is an ID with 50. If there isn't one, it executes the action instantly, but of course this prevents you from the use of the postfix keys. So if you have a look, I press 5 and the link is instantly pressed without any delay. So this lets you speed up your browsing experience. Pixels to scroll when pressing shortcuts. There are two shortcuts with which you can scroll. This is the add and the subtract key. The reason for introducing that was that I want to enable that you can browse entirely with a numpad. So if I press the plus key, it goes down. If I press the subtract key, it goes up. And here the pixel which should be scrolled when pressing these shortcuts are defined. One below, you can define the maximum number of IDs. This should prevent that on very large pages with a huge number of links, Mouseless browsing takes too long to initialize. So I think the default number of 1000 IDs is a good starting point. On the third pane of the Mouseless browsing configuration dialog, you can configure layout issues. First of all, you can say that all IDs should be hidden if you want to disable mouseless browsing entirely, except the shortcuts. And you can disable IDs for certain types of elements like text links or foam elements and so on. The other layout configuration options are smart positioning of IDs. This enables that, for example, for foam elements like text boxes, the IDs are displayed in the right upper corner of the text box to minimize the impact of the overall page layout. But of course, this takes a little bit longer to initialize for mouseless browsing. So if you deactivate this option, the initialization process will be a little bit faster. So here's an option. This is also ticked on by default: hide IDs for image links for which an identical text link exists. So this also speeds up the initialization process. So image links which have an identical text link, which is in the most cases quite next to the image, will be omitted. Here you can disable that the tab IDs should be displayed. With this option you can hide the key buffer in the status bar. By default, if you have a look here at the right upper corner, the key buffer, the content of the key buffer is it's not displayed because I have ticked on. You can't see that because I have ticked on instantly. So now you should see it here. The content of the key buffer is displayed, so you can have a look what you've typed in. But you can hide that. You can also hide the MLB icon in the status bar. This is this one, and you can hide the MLB icon in the tools menu, which is this one here. Let's open the configuration dialog again. On the fourth pane, you can define the styles for normal IDs and for frame IDs, but I think you won't do that. Frame IDs are always displayed in the left upper corner of the frame. You can use them to focus the frame for scrolling in it. So, last one are other keys which you can configure. We have handled this: toggle visibility on off, that we omit here. You can toggle off the exclusive use of numpad, which is by default the pause key. There is a shortcut to clear the current key buffer, which is by default the escape key. Here are the postfix keys for open new link in a new open the link in a new tab and a new window. There's also a postfix key to select a link, which is the shift key by default. There are two keys for history back and history forward, which is by default the divide and multiply key. This was also introduced for enabling that you can browse entirely with a numpad, but you can remove these shortcuts if you don't need them. Here, these four we already have talked about. Then there's a shortcut for open the configuration dialog, to add an URL rule, and to enable and disable mouseless browsing entirely. And then I would like to show you that you can directly browse to the help page, to the documentation of mouseless browsing via the tools menu. You can directly report a bug in my Google project. I would heavily encourage you to do that so I can further improve mouseless browsing, or you can just give me feedback by opening your email program. So that was a short overview of all the features of mouseless browsing. I hope you enjoy using mouseless browsing, and I wish you all the best. Thank you for your audience, and goodbye.